Okay. Okay, great. Okay, so I will just continue to let people come in as they enter the waiting room. Again, welcome to the NACDD Annual Conference. My name is Angela Castillo-Epps, and I'm going to turn it over now to the to Penny Johnson from the Tennessee Center for Decision Making Support Program Coordinator with the ARC of Tennessee to kick off our meeting. You do have access to the chat box, I believe. If you need to leave a message, please do so, or let us know if you need anything. If you are not speaking, if you can put your system on mute, that would be great, just to help with the background noise. And I think that's it. I think, Penny, if you're ready, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Great. Thanks so much, Angela. Hi, everybody. My name is Penny Johnson, and as Angela said, I am the program coordinator for the Center for Decision Making Support. It is a new program, and actually we've been doing it for a year now, but the website actually finally launched last month. What we're going to do today is we're going to talk to you about the center, a little bit of history of how we came up with the center and what brought us to this point. And then we're going to actually show you a website tour. And if we still have time after that, we're going to go through kind of quickly the slides on how we're presenting the philosophy of the center and kind of the different take that we're taking from previously. In the past, the organizations who support the center were focused more specifically just on SDM, but as a result of the background and everything we've experienced, our focus now is more on just decision-making supports and choosing the right one with a non-biased perspective. So that's why if we have time, we'll go over like the education component on how we're coaching and training the community. If not, there will be just extra slides that you guys will have on the PowerPoint that you can look over at a later time, because the information is not technical. It's really probably information you guys already know. It's just our way of sharing our philosophy and the language that we're using as we go forward. So with that, I want to introduce to you Cam Hurt. He is our partner with Disability Rights Tennessee, and I'll let Cameron give you a little bit of information about him.
Thank you, Penny. Good afternoon, everybody. I am Camron Hurt. I am a paralegal for the Supported Decision Making wing of Disability Rights Tennessee. Pretty much echoing everything Penny said in her introduction. We really embarked on this project, me, her, we have another partner closely with Elisa Hertzen, who is the main attorney on this project. She couldn't be with us today, but we really started this initiative to really come and be some of the leading experts in SDM and alternatives to conservatorship in general in the Southeast. And I think we've done a fine job trying to reach that goal. And I am so excited to be here and share this information with you guys. During the course of the presentation, if you guys have any questions at all, please do not hesitate to put them in the chat box. And we'll also have certain moments in the presentation where we'll be able to interact with you guys just a little bit more. So it won't be just us speaking and it being boring, but we're super excited to give you guys this information and be here with you today. So with that being said, Penny, do you want to go ahead and start the presentation for them?
Well, actually, we are, oops, let me share the screen. That would help, wouldn't it, guys? Okay. Okay, are y'all seeing it?
Yes, we see it, Penny.
I can see it just fine. Thank you, Penny.
Okay, great. Then actually, Cam is going to start us off with giving us a little bit of information about what the center is, and let's go.
Yeah, so now we've got the screen shared, let's just hop into the presentation. So again, today we're going to be talking to you guys about the Tennessee Center for Decision Making Support and using it for future planning. And hopefully, again, the goal is anything that you guys see have been done in the state of Tennessee, if you guys would like to replicate or pick our brains for more ideas or even collaborative efforts, we hope that you guys are inspired from this presentation. So today's objectives: what is the Tennessee Center for Decision Making Support? best practices and tools for supported decision-making, commonly referred to as SDM. And for time's sake, and just because we're all professionals here working in the arena, you'll hear me say SDM. Decision-making support planning, how to use the Center for Decision-Making Support for future planning, and hopefully a website tour. All right, so the groundbreaking new resource is the Tennessee decisionmaking.org. This is our new online physical resource center for you guys. If you guys would like to type that in and go to it, or if you guys want to refer back to it at any time during the presentation, absolutely, please do. Again, this is the website that we were able to launch this past June or May. Lord, we've been working on it for the better part of half a year. So excellent resource center that we really wanted it just to kind of be able to be a one-stop shop for families who would like to inquire about supported decision making. So it is, again, like I said, a virtual resource center that provides plain language resources, tools regarding decision-making supports, options such as conservatorships, power of attorney, durable power of attorney, healthcare directives, special needs trusts. So all these things are handled within this resource center. The center services. The center provides understandable information for decision-making supports in one place. It provides information for referral services, offer limited one-on-one support to individuals who need a higher level of assistance in navigating the website and or the resources. We offer trained staff to navigate and connect with individuals for legal help purposes if needed. And it's a close partnership with Disability Rights Tennessee for referral to legal services. So in essence, just really quick, we are able to, on this one site, we're able to give information, but also give resources. So we do have an active list of attorneys within the state who are able to handle all different types of things under the umbrella and the cusp of conservatorship and alternatives to conservatorship, be it durable power of attorney, conservatorship, SDM agreements, walking people through what SDM may look like. We have all those resources available at the center and are expanding those resources as we continue. The backstory to the Center for Decision-Making Support. So how exactly did we get here? So just a little bit of brief context. It was originally a collaboration between the Tennessee Council of Developmental Disabilities, the ARC Tennessee, and Disability Rights Tennessee. It was a long history of work in the area of supported decision-making, conservatorship, and alternatives to in the state of Tennessee. So this had started way before the opening of the center. It had been something that we had been on the cutting edge of the planning boards for about 5 years prior. It was a collaborative effort to learn about supported decision making. It began in 2016. Between 2016 to 2020, the respectable organizations and their representatives have participated and hosted hundreds of trainings, presentations, stakeholder meetings, and focus groups. The key takeaway from all this is that education, awareness, decision-making tools and resources for individuals and families are needed. So before, from 2016 to 2020, what the research and the deep dive into the field showed us was that these were the things that were needed immediately in Tennessee to address the information gap of the need. All right, so a takeaway reflected in research. Most professionals are not familiar with guardianship, conservatorship statutes. I think that has become abundantly clear as we have seen things like the Britney Spears case take over primetime news. And for those of us who work specifically in the area of SDM, I've heard amazing guest commentators, many of whom that I even have a high degree of academic and intellectual respect for, talk about conservatorships and guardianships and have gotten it completely wrong. And what that is showing, and these are professionals ranging from attorneys to medical staff to to general public and their interpretation of how conservatorships are carried out and what that may look like. So we see a big gap between professionals of not really being completely familiar with conservatorship statutes. Guardians or conservators, professionals, and wards, people who are placed under the conservatorships, have misconceptions about the roles and duties. Again, like they have a general understanding that is pretty much built off of pop culture and not actually built off of the law of the land. Most people do not know that there are alternatives to guardianship or conservatorship. When they find out, they're interested in learning what are the other avenues that can be taken. A lot of times we see that in different ways that we may see certain decision-making support techniques used or suggested. We see that certain things are pushed automatically. As a former special education teacher, there was no thinking. As a teacher, if you taught any child with special needs, you told the parent to get a conservatorship at 18. And it's just the way that that just goes through. Well, what I learned as a teacher, and I didn't have to wait to this position, was that didn't seem right to me. And it really didn't seem like I understood enough to put that decision on other parents. I wish I had been equipped with this resource to know all the different ways that you could go about helping out your child in just that one example. And when we are, going on to questions right now. So for you guys, what is your experience in dealing with individuals with disabilities and their supporters regarding understanding guardianship and alternatives? And does this research reflect your experience at all? And if you guys wouldn't mind, you can put your answers in the chat. If Penny, do we have time to take a few questions right now?
I think they wanted us to hold the questions for later, but I thought that they could, if they want to make some comments in the chat, we can actually have more of a discussion when we get to the Q&A section on some of their ideas. And guys, as we're doing this, if you all have, again, like Cam said, comments, suggestions, even things that you've experienced that you want to share with us, we greatly appreciate that, because just like you all, we're learning and growing too. So we can all, learn from each other.
And we're uniquely excited to be with this group of people today who are familiar with the work and participating in the work. And I mean, really quick shout out to Vanessa. Just seeing that just made me smile before I even started the presentation that New Hampshire is already passing SDM law. Woo, we can't wait to pick your brain. But we're going to move on from the question slide. I'm going to hand it over to Penny, who's going to cover the next part of the presentation. Penny.
Okay, so after all that information, the goal of the center was to fill the current gap with providing information and guidance about an array of decision-making supports in one place and having staff available to navigate it. A key thing with that is this is a switch in the way we present support decision-making and alternatives in Tennessee. In the past, the idea was to promote supported decision-making, and that was like the focus. As a result, again, of the research and what they have been through, what they found was they really needed this one place where people could just gather the information and make a decision for themselves. So part of the center's goal and responsibility is that we will not push families or direct families toward one option or another. We will provide them the information. We will provide them examples on how they can use it. But ultimately, we are to stay biased or unbiased and to make sure that they understand that their decision is the decision they make that's best for them. So now what we're going to do is we're actually going to talk about, in the beginning part, how we got there a little bit more specifically, and the roles of each organization and the part that they played into really developing the philosophy of the center and the center in itself. So the role of the council. The role of the council, it began honestly back in 2016 at the very beginning part when they started hearing about the supported decision making. The Vanderbilt Kennedy Center, UCID, actually developed the original work group. It was a very informal group, and they just started talking about what is this new thing, supported decision making. The council jumped in, became very involved in it. Over time, pretty shortly after they started, it started to become a little bit more formal. And honestly, the council, the ARC, and Disability Rights Tennessee just kind of took the lead and started running with it. From 2016 through 19, again, as Cam said, they provided hundreds of trainings all across the state, really focusing on education and, again, supported decision making, not so much alternatives, as far as really explaining that in a non-biased way, but really trying to educate people on what supported decision making is and letting them know that there were alternatives. A key thing that the word language that they used was conservatorship and alternatives. And I'm sharing that now because as you go through, you'll understand why we've had to change our language. The council also contracted with subject matter expert Jonathan Martinez, who consulted with Tennessee stakeholders and served as a subject matter expert for all during those years. Jonathan was a huge help with them to really educate them and kind of direct them on how Tennessee can move forward with supported decision making. Some of the highlights of what Jonathan did during that time was he provided keynote presentations for some of Tennessee's largest conferences, such as the Equal Justice University, which was like our #1 legal conference across the state, Partners in Education, also we call it the PI Conference, #1 educator conference. People from all over the state come to Nashville for the PI Conference, and then different managed care organizations to teach and coach them on the ECF services, the other waiver services, on how they can incorporate the concept of supported decision-making in their daily work. And along with that, Jonathan testified alongside Tennessee self-advocates and families for the Tennessee Senate Judiciary Committee, and met with several legislatures to really try to help get us a legislation regarding supported decision-making. However, in 2016, when we applied for supported decision-making legislation, it did not pass. In fact, it says here on the slide that Tennessee's SDM legislation failed, and the Judiciary Committee recommended us to focus on awareness and education in the pipeline. Personally, I don't consider it a fail. And the reason is even though we didn't get SDM legislation, what we did get was an adjustment or a correction to our current statute that went from just talking about conservatorship to focusing on least restrictive conservatorship, basically meaning that even though they don't look at all alternatives for decision making in conservatorship, what they do is that when someone comes to look for a conservator or apply for a conservatorship, the court actually says, okay, where do they actually have capacity to make decisions and where don't they? So they actually designate and specify within the conservatorship order the areas that have to be removed, and then in all other areas that the individual gets to keep their decision-making authority. So it's a lot more specific, and therefore, as many people are not getting a blanket full conservatorship, conservatorship over property or management. It's a lot more specific, and it spells out what areas they get to keep in and what areas they don't. Another thing that the court did when they denied the actual legislation was they told him, you know what, you guys are focusing in the wrong area. Rather than focus on the legal, the court part and the legislation at this point, go back and do education. Educate the educators, educate the medical field, educate the providers, and those people who are telling people when you turn 18, send your loved one and go get a conservatorship, or your loved one who's elderly, go get a conservatorship. Instead of just telling that, go out and teach them what that means. Teach them about capacity. Teach them how to find these least restrictive alternatives. So when they get to court, the judge isn't the one making those decisions. Those decisions have been already made, and they don't even come to court because they don't need it. So that's where the council and the ARC and DRT decided, okay, that's what we would focus on. So during those years, that's why they did all of those trainings. And again, as a result of that, what they came away with, and this was a lot due to feedback from the people that they were training, families, self-advocates, was, you know what, if you guys could just put everything in one place, it would be so much easier, because even though you're telling us this, we don't know how to get there. We don't know what the steps are. We don't know where to find what is a power of attorney over durable power of attorney. What is conservatorship? How do I know if I need it? And then trying to find the right attorney who understands all of that. So that's why they came up with the idea, we need to find one place to do this. And how are we going to do that? So as a result of that, 2019, they decided, you know what, let's come up with a virtual resource center. And Thankfully, the council was able to get a nice grant, and they actually came up with the outline, outlined the vision and of the grant project. They provided the funds and the design and the overall implementation on what it needed to look like. Then they contracted with the ARC Tennessee and Disability Rights to be those key parts, whereas the ARC would work on like the website and the advocacy part regarding working with the families, and the DRT would actually handle the legal component of it. So from 2019 to actually till a couple months ago, we were working on this whole project. And again, in June 15th, actually, of 2021, we finally got it launched. And the reason it took so long is because as we went through this, what we found out is in the past, the council and DRT and even the ARC, as we're talking SDM, we're talking philosophy, but we really hadn't thought about in detail, how do we take that philosophy and actually implement it? How do we provide that wording and that understanding of capacity in a way that people could understand it, who is a self-advocate or a family member, without overwhelming them? And then once we do that, and they're looking at what options do they have, how do we explain to them what the steps are to get there? And so we really had to hash out a lot of this. And what we found is we had an advisory group of 18 people, and we had 3 attorneys on there. We had managed care organization representatives. We had state employees, advocates, self-advocates. We had a whole variety of professionals on that, and in that advisory group. And in, again, coming up with those ideas, what we found out is not everyone really agreed. Attorneys had one perspective, and the ARC the advocates had another perspective, and state employees who are actually doing the work had a little bit different perspective. So we really had to have a lot of deep discussions and go back and forth on what we were going to say. This is our foundation. This is our philosophy. Here's the message we're sending, and be consistent in that across the state. That's why it took us so long to get us to this point, because there was a lot of really heavy discussions, almost to the point where they were a little bit heated at times, trying to, not in a bad way, just people were so emphatic on what's important to them that we really had to look at how we were wording it in our language, which is why we ended up changing from saying conservatorship and alternatives to decision-making supports, and really focusing on decision-making supports across the board and what the difference is between them. So key takeaways with that, or thankfully, the council's flexible funding made the whole project possible with their expertise, the matter of the expertise and their national credibility assistance that they got through Jonathan, through other research that they did, really was the foundation of what we needed to do and how we needed to get there. In addition, they had many council members who contributed lived experience, things that they had went through, which really helped us sort through, again, what we should do and what we shouldn't do, and you know, what families have to experience and go through. We also, they collaborated with, again, the ARC Tennessee and Disability Rights to really pull in the key components of what would make this center really meet the needs of the individuals and their families. In addition, they have their staff who were really involved. And I've got to say, I cannot give enough praise to our council. I've worked in different programs and been a caseworker or a program manager for years, and I've never had a funding organization support me in a program like the council has. They didn't just give us the money and give us an outline. They are in the nitty-gritty with us every day. There isn't a week go by that I don't get an email or a call from Lauren saying, "Hey, Penny, did you think about this? Let's look at this. Here's some research. Here's a great resource for you. Here's a great webinar." Always giving us direction that help us be better at what we do. They also have leadership meetings that they run with us every other month to really talk about where are we going with this? How are we going to build this? And what's the message we're sending to the community? In addition to that, when we had our launch, the council and disability rights were amazing. They came up with the most amazing launch kit. They came up with a toolkit that they passed out all over the state to stakeholders, where all the comms people had to do was just take the information they gave them, the pictures, the wording, and just drop it in their social media campaigns or in their newsletters, so that when we did the launch, it was all over the state. And again, they are just so involved in every aspect of what we do and have been great leaders for us. So with that, what is the role that the ARC Tennessee has? Our role with ARC Tennessee is we had to develop and manage the website that publishes easy to understand, unbiased, accurate information about an array of decision-making support options and best practices. And again, to reiterate what I already said, we came up with the initial content, and just to give you an idea on the work behind this, I had to do research on the content based on different information they had given us that the ARC has done for years, the council has done for years, websites of best practices, and write the general plain language content. Then it was reviewed by our administrative team. Then it was sent to the council. They did a critique and a review and did changes and edits. Then they sent it back to us. It went to our advisory group. And this was the process with each and every page of our website. And it's still the process when there's a change that needs to be made or someone has a question, that the council and the ARC and Disability Rights Tennessee all are involved, along with our advisory council, on what that content needs to look like. We have to provide information and referral services to individuals with disabilities, closely partnering with Tennessee Disability Pathfinder. And again, the Disability Pathfinder, for those of you who don't know Tennessee, is an amazing resource. They have over 3,000 resources for people with disabilities, and it's also a virtual resource center. And we work a lot with them, where we may focus specifically on decision-making support resources. They have anything across our state. So I may refer people to them, they refer people to me, and we even have a couple cases we're working on right now where they're doing other resources and I'm working on the conservatorship resources, and we're tag teaming on it. Offer limited one-on-one support for individuals who need a higher level assistance. And that is, for example, somebody calls in and they need help with trying to figure out what their options are for decision-making supports, conservatorship, power of attorney, durable power of attorney. What I usually do is I will talk to them for a few minutes. If it looks like it's a deeper conversation, we'll schedule an appointment. I will actually walk them through the website, through the tools, explain everything to them. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes they need another appointment. Sometimes they need me to actually refer them to an attorney, and then I'll refer them to disability rights. And they actually kind of, again, get a deeper dive in helping them really determine which legal resource is the best for them. And sometimes they'll even call me back afterward and say, okay, I've got that part, but I want to learn more about supported decision-making. Can you help me with some of the tools and learning more about that? So we'll schedule another appointment and we actually walk them through how they can use that with their son or daughter or their loved one. So it's not something like an advocacy where they're going to get help for several months. It's short term, but it could be several appointments or several referrals to different agencies. We also had to create a decision-making support resource directory, which is on our website, and then oversee the center's advisory group, which again, they are there to give us advice, to help us to do whatever we need them to do, to make sure that, that we are on the right track. So with that, I'm gonna let Cam talk about what they do.
Thank you, Penny. So the role of Disability Rights Tennessee, as we jump into that, and like, what exactly does DRT do in this partnership? So we provide individual advocacy directly with clients and or support other attorneys in protecting or restoring decision-making rights. We also provide group advocacy to disseminate best practices through partnerships and training in the legal community. Review of current conservatorship data and practices in Tennessee, develop and maintain a legal directory of services. So the legal directory of services was kind of like what I was talking to you guys about, is if somebody comes with us and let's say they may have found their way to us because somebody referred them, but what they're really looking for is an attorney who can help them set up a trust account or an ABLE account. Well, what we do is we have a database of attorneys that we've personally reached out to, and it's about 70 attorneys statewide right now and we have in there, like, this one is cool doing able accounts, this one can handle POAs, this one can handle conservatorships, this one can handle just a SDM agreement, or there's some who can handle them all. And we provide this resources, and all these attorneys have agreed to either pro bono or low bono costs. So that's a really neat benefit that we get to do. When we are providing our direct advocacy for clients, it is, as many of you know, in dealing with this, it's very heavy. These are real people going through some horrific situations. I always tell people, if Britney Spears was a rich entertainer in front of our eyes for all these years and going through that, you can only imagine what people are going through behind their back. So we even work on some conservatorship reversals. And then also we work in the community, making sure we're getting the message out there, working with different partners, and we work with an array of partners, not just the ARC and the council, but we're lucky enough to have a outreach team, a communications outreach team that is Spanish fluent. And we've recently been reaching out to the Spanish community. It's been great. We also we've just nailed this. This is very exciting. We're actually going to be able to host a CLE for the attorneys in Tennessee for all who want to get credit. And we'll be the host of that. We'll be running it. We submitted our plans and our curriculum to the bar, recently got it approved. So we're looking forward to that in September. But that's another way that we reach out to the legal community, is being able to offer a CLE, which will really be the first of its kind that I'm aware of in Tennessee. And reviewing the current conservatorship data that goes into, just besides the black and whites of the word, but we also, not just us, but also the ARC too, and the council, we have an amazing partnership with the local Office for Conservatorship Management for the capital cities county. Now, sadly, that's if you're asking for personal opinion, to me, it's the only one of its kind in the state. However, states have other safeguards and resources to help protect people, but some also just have absolutely no oversight at all. And so that's been something that's been really, like, daunting and shocking, because, even if we're going to see current laws in effect and see them working, we have no oversight to prove that they are or that they aren't, and that's daunting. So we have enjoyed this partnership with the Office of Conservatorship Management in Davidson County of Tennessee, and been able to work with them on some really nifty things, even helping to create best practice manuals. So that's awesome. And actually, this isn't on the slide, but just another example of what reaching out to different stakeholders in the community also look like is Penny and I recently got to meet with a representative from a project at Vanderbilt University, which will allow us to kind of be able to give a certain type of messaging to medical workers too. And we were able to talk to them and bring up some of our concerns with medical workers. And we haven't found quite the best fit scenario for us to get SDM strictly out to the medical staff, but we have found places where we can pocket it here for now. And we're all working, our team, Penny's team. When I say our team, I mean me and Penny, our team and the medical staff team. We're working for a way where we can really just merge this as harmoniously as possible and get the message out there. All right, Penny, tools and resource. This is your jam.
Okay, so thanks, Cam. So what I'm going to do is, before we go to the website, I'm going to show you, again, based on our philosophy, some of the tools that we're recommending to help people understand how they can implement supported decision-making with other decision-making options, and some of the tools to walk them through that process. And then we'll actually do the website, and it'll make a little bit more sense to you all. And again, throughout our website, instead of saying conservatorship and alternatives, you're going to see decision-making supports and supported decision-making. And we'll get into that on the website. So our website is actually designed from the Charting the Life course, Exploring Decision-Making Supports tool. Again, because we wanted people to really be able to think about the help they need and where they need help, the key founding people with this project, even before I was hired, came up with this tool and said that this is exactly what they wanted to help guide families through that process. So with this tool, if you're not familiar with the Charting the Life course series, it is an amazing, they have all kinds of tools. I just became an ambassador to really help educate and train people on how to use them. They have SDM tools. They have tools for every stage of life, from early childhood all the way through adulthood. They have different domains. They have supported decision making. They have tools that help you look at the whole the family as a whole, and how to look at the needs of the caregivers as well as the providers. It's an amazing series, and it's all done through Kansas or Missouri, Kansas, UMC, UCID. And if you're not familiar with the tools, I really recommend you look at it. So with this particular tool, we got authorization from them to actually house this on our website, and we showed them the website. We showed them what we wanted to do with it, and they were totally behind the process. So what it does is you list that person's information, who's helping them complete the tool, recommend family or friend or someone who really knows them to help them walk through this, how long they've known the individual. And then it has 6 different domains of life. And the part I love about it is it doesn't just talk about their basic needs like housing and food and shelter and medical. It talks about social and spiritual. It talks about their relationships in their life. Do they want to get married? Do they not want to get married? It talks about, are they involved in church? What about safety? Do you have a safety plan if something happens to you? Who are the key people you would go to for a safety plan? It talks about advocacy and community engagement, and teaching them how to really think about that. In each domain, there's several questions. And with the questions, there's 3 possible answers. I can decide with no extra support. I need support with my decision, or I need someone to decide for me. Now, when it says I need no support, it doesn't mean that you don't have someone to talk to. It means it's talking about some kind of formal support, like a power of attorney, durable power of attorney, rep payee, something that's a more tangible, formal decision-making support. When it says I need support with my decision, in this category, we're talking about I might need someone to have like some support, but I still have the capacity to make a final decision on that. That might be like a power of attorney, durable power of attorney, where the individual still can decide who they want, but they may be giving someone that authority to make decisions for them. When it says I need someone to decide for me, that's where that person does not have the capacity to make the decisions. They need someone who will do that for them. That would be a conservatorship or Social Security assigning a rep payee because the individual can't manage it and doesn't know how to even make that decision. It could be a healthcare surrogate, things like that. So what we recommend is they go through this tool and they really take the time to discuss it with the person who's helping them fill it out, to really analyze it and think about it and really talk it through. So by the time they're done, they should know what areas they need help with and how much help they need. And that's going to be significant when we get to the website. You'll see why that helps guide them through the process. So once they complete that tool, what they can do is, this is another life course tool. It's called an integrated support star. And again, the tools we specifically use on our website are all related to supported decision-making, because it's a decision-making website. So then what this tool does is it actually helps them kind of narrow those things down. Like on here, you're talking about relationships for supported decision-making. So in the areas of relationship, what help do I need and who are my key supporters? Regarding eligibility supports, that's like your Social Security, Medicaid, things like that. They would list what those supports are and who are the key people who are my supports in that area. Who are my go-to people? Community resources, technologies, like if I need special technical assistance, like with computers or some kind of assisted technology, what are those and who are the key people? And then on my personal strengths and assets in the other areas of my life, again, who are the people and what are the supports I need in that area? This tool can be used where you just have it regarding a certain type of decision in your life, or it can just be in general. And generally, that's where you would put what kind of decision it is you're making here, and you use the support star to help guide you through that process. So another tool that we like to recommend for individuals who really struggle with how to make a decision, this is a tool the ARC came up with, and it's called a choice making tool or making a choice tool. And with that one, the individual puts out who's helping them make the decision. What is the decision that they have to make? It could be like, I'm trying to figure out where I want to live. So I would put housing. Choice one might be I can live with my family. Choice two might be I can live with, I can live in like what we in Tennessee, we call a CLE home. That's like where you live in a home with someone who takes care of you. Or three could be in a group home. So then you look at each choice and you say, okay, if I live it with my parents or my family, what's good about that? What do I like about that? What's not good about that for me? What do I not like about it? And with each choice, they go through and they answer these questions. Now, the individual doesn't have to be able to write it in for themselves. They could have their support person, whoever that trusted advisor is, actually write it in for them. They could put it on computer and do it. They could use pictures. However they communicate with that person with a disability, the idea behind it is it's actually teaching them how to formulate decisions, how to choose options, how to think of the good and bad parts of options. And then by the time they're all done and they discuss it with somebody or figure it out on their own, they can come up with a conclusion or a decision. So it's really teaching someone how to make decisions. So then another tool that we really like to recommend, like now that someone understands what kind of decision help they need and what areas they need help and who those key people are, and now they're learning to make a decisions, now we're looking at goal setting. How can we actually take all of this and figure out how to move forward? So with the life course trajectory tool, it does that. It looks at their past life experiences. So you actually ask questions about, how did it, if I was talking about housing, where did I live in the past? What was good about it? What wasn't good about it? What would I change if I wanted to move forward? And it gives you a chance to really think through that process. Then the next part says moving forward. But when I do this tool, I really like to do that last, because I think sometimes we don't always know the steps that we need to take to move forward. But if we think about what we've lived and what we've experienced, then we think about what we really want and where we want to end up. And then we think about what we don't want. That actually can help us formulate what the steps are to get where we do want. So again, with this top part, it talks about what do I want in my future? This could be specifically related to housing or a job, or it could just be in general, like I want to live in my own place. I want to have a job. I want to have a dog. And then what I don't want to be in a group home. I don't want to live with my family the rest of my life. So it really helps that individual think through the process with the help of their support team, whoever it is, again, it's helping them with that. So again, we use these tools to just help the person in their decision making. And these tools can be used when we're talking about deciding if they need what kind of supports they need, or it could be just in everyday decisions in life. Another tool, again, once they've done all of this, then we're looking at actually developing a supported decision-making agreement if they choose to do that. And when we explain this to individuals and providers and families, we want to let them know that, again, in the state of Tennessee, we do not have a statute that recognizes supported decision-making or any specific supported decision-making agreement. So we can't say, hey, here's a legal document that's like a power of attorney or like a conservatorship. It doesn't exist in the state of Tennessee with our law. But we can tell them that you can do an informal decision-making agreement, or you can do a notarized supported decision-making agreement. The notarized agreement is going to be just as legal as any other notarized agreement you make with somebody. Will a doctor accept that? Will a financial institution accept that? We can't guarantee it. Some may not. They may still need a power of attorney or a rep payee or something like that to help them with their finances. But it at least gives you a plan, and it really helps that support team come around that individual with their decision making. And the ACLU's Guide for People with Disabilities actually, again, walks you through what is a supported decision making agreement? How do I make one? How do I fill it out? And then you actually have a sample form that you can use. And since Tennessee doesn't have their own form, someone can use that one, or they can adapt it to however they want. For the center, Disability Rights Tennessee came up with what we call our sample decision-making plan. It's very simplistic. Again, it's very similar to the concept of the way the ACLU's decision-making SDM agreement is. The only difference is it doesn't have a notarized section on the bottom. They can add as many supporters on as they want. There's lines that they can add specialty information besides just what areas, like if there's special instructions on how that supporter is going to support them, like how often they're going to meet, how often they're going to talk. It's all on there that they can adapt it to however they want. And again, it's not a legal document. It's just a tool. So, and then here's additional resources that we have used to help us develop the website, gather information, and we also refer families or professionals to if they need more information. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and show you all the website. And then that way we can do some question and answers. And if we still have time, we'll just kind of, like I say, go through how we educate the community regarding this information, because we're sending a new message out and we want to make sure that they're getting the right message. So give me a second. Okay, so here's the website. If someone needs to get to any place on our website, they can click on the home or go back to the home page. They can click on the logo or go to the home page. Another cool feature, actually, I don't know if I can do this or not. I'm going to see if I can hit to share with sound. Oh, it does say share with sound. We'll see if this works for you guys. So we also have a cool feature on the website. It's Recite Me. And what it does is it translates, sorry, it does a wacky stuff when it does that. It actually translates the whole website in all kinds of different formats, languages. It will read it to the individual. So if you have someone who needs special accommodations, it adjusts the website to just about any kind of accommodation that you would need. It will read it in English. It'll read it in Spanish. It'll read it in 120 different languages. It can be adjusted to different color format for people who have vision impairments. It can be adjusted to different font for people who have vision impairments. And all they have to do is click on that accessibility link and then figure out which icon works for what they need. So I'm going to see if it'll let you hear it read. I don't know, since I'm sharing on a PowerPoint, if it's going to do it for you.
Home. Making decisions for your future. It can be hard making decisions alone, whether or not you have a disability. Decision-making support resources can help you learn how much support or what kind of support you may need about choices in your own life.
Okay, so that's just an example of that. And then I will try to show you it in Spanish. I actually just did this with a family the other day and let it read some of it to them, and they were so excited. But I've never done it before until then, so that was pretty cool, actually. And as you can see, it will read. I take a correction on that. Apparently, it doesn't read every language audibly. If it does, it has like the audible thing for you to see. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Puede ser difícil tomar decisiones solo, tenga o no una discapacidad. Los recursos de apoyo para la toma de decisiones pueden ayudarlo a saber cuánto apoyo o qué tipo de apoyo puede necesitar para tomar decisiones en su propia vida.
Hang on, let me switch it back to English. And then we'll get out of that. But that's a really cool feature that helps families and accommodates individuals who need special language accommodations. So getting back to how the website works. So at the beginning, it talks about everyone makes decisions in their life, and the amount of decisions they make, the type of decision, and the help they need is unique to their specific situation, because we want people to know that decision-making isn't a one-size-fits-all. Everyone doesn't need a blanket conservatorship. Everyone has different needs, different abilities, and we want them to have what's best for them. So another thing we let them know next is throughout our website, there's two terms that are crucial that you understand, because you're going to see this throughout our website. And the first one is supported decision-making. And then the other one is decision-making support. And anytime you see an orange link on our website, that means it links to something. It links to another website, or it links to another other information on our website. So regarding supported decision-making, the definition we came up with, and again, this was a lot of back and forth between lawyers and other professionals in the field and the advocacy agencies, is it refers to the idea that a person has a right to make decisions to the full extent of their capacity, even as they get needed support. And we had to really focus on the word capacity throughout our website, because that was the key thing our attorneys were really concerned about, because Tennessee doesn't have an SDM law, and because the word alternatives to them implies that you don't need that capacity and not capacity equal the same thing. And so they really wanted us to address that if someone doesn't have capacity, they have to get a conservatorship in those areas. If they have capacity, then these alternatives or other decision-making options are available to them. So we really had to define that in different areas throughout our website. Then we talk about decision-making supports, and we're letting them know that throughout the website, well, when we talk about decision-making supports, we're talking about the actual forms and agreements that someone needs to make decisions, such as a power of attorney, a conservatorship, a healthcare directive, things like that. Now, we all know that family and other people are supports, that people can be supports. But for the purpose of the website and to keep things from getting too confusing, we wanted to stick with, on this website, decision-making supports are those documents and physical type supports that you're going to use for that purpose. The next thing we let them know is that, it's really hard to figure out sometimes how much help you need. So a good place to start is the life course tool, because it asks you questions to let you figure out what areas you need help with and how much help you need. Then it says to learn about the life course tool, click on the link below. So they click on the link, and what it does is there's a whole page that explains what this life course tool is, how you use it, the fact that there's 3 different levels of decision-making support, that you pick one of those levels within the questions. Then once you complete that document, you can fill it out and save it on your computer. You can print it and save it. You could use it like every year for your plan, your ISP or your individual support plan. You can use it for an IEP. You can use it once in your lifetime or not use it at all, but it's there for your help if you want it. Then it says, once you look at the tool and you complete it, then you want to look at our resources page, because it's going to help you figure out what your next steps are. So going to the tool, and here's that same tool that I showed you. I'm going to show you it a little bit. I'm going to blow it up and let you see all the domains. So you have, like I said, the different domains, daily life and employment, healthy living, spiritual, social, safety and security and community living, and advocacy and engagement. And within this tool, again, it's on our website. They can fill it out and they can download it and save it from the website, or they can save it and then fill it out, or they can print it, however it works for them, so that way they have that tangible resource that they can look back to and refer to. So once someone completes this, they can either go back to this page and reach our resources page from here, or they can go up to the resources page here. But the information does tell them, now that you've completed the tool, now you want to look at the resources page. So they go to the resources page, and it explains that everyone, again, has different degrees of needing help with decision making, and the below levels refer to the life course tool. It again tells them you might want to fill out the full tool if you haven't done it. And it tells them that they really need to look at, they can start with the areas that they hit that are most affect what they've already put on the tool, but also they might want to explore other areas as well. And some of the resources are on all 3 levels, depending on what kind of a resource it is. It also tells them that if you really want to see how other people use decision making, you can go to our stories page. And on that stories page, you can see where other people apply these types of supports and how it works in their life. So looking at the levels of support, you see we actually have 4 instead of 3. The first one we added because we had parents of minors that were, asking us, why is there nothing about minors on the website? What if, as a parent, we want to start practicing supported decision-making with our children? How does all this fit into us? We don't want to wait until our child turns 18 and then decide, oh, we need to figure this out. We want to start preparing for it. So can you help us with some resources? So in each level, you'll see, like I said, we have minors level. We have, I can decide with no extra support. I need support with my decision, and I need someone to decide for me. So we labeled each level to totally correspond with the life course tool. So it's less confusing, so the individual or whoever's filling out the tool can know what level they want to start at or what areas that level applies to. For example, and once they click on that level, let's say it's someone who wants to know information about minors, you go to that page and it tells you at this level, you're under 18 and your parents are your legal guardians. They have the legal authority to make decisions for you. However, that doesn't mean that you can't practice decision-making and learn those skills. So we recommend that you still learn to practice supported decision-making at any level of or any stage of life. And then it has different what we call resources or supports that they can consider at this point. So we have supported decision-making, guardianship, able account, and special needs trust. Because as a minor, we would love for parents to start teaching their kids to practice supported decision-making as a practice. Obviously, they're not going to have a legal authority because, again, state of Tennessee doesn't do that, but they can practice the skill of decision-making and encouraging someone how to make better decisions. So let's say they want to know, well, what does supported decision-making look like as a 14-year-old? They can click on that and it explains what supported decision-making is. It explains, again, at this age, your parents are your decision maker. However, we encourage parents, or in the state of Tennessee, it's called a guardian, to help you learn how to make decisions and grow in your decision making. And here's examples of what that looks like. And if you want to learn more, there's resources that can teach you even more about supported decision making and where you can get more information. As we learn more resources and we develop videos and things like that, we will be putting a lot more resources on each page that it applies to. I actually have a couple videos and some other resources to add to the website. I just haven't done it yet because we're trying to make parameters on what we're adding and what we're not adding. So let's say I'm not a minor, but I completed the form, and in some areas I checked I needed no support with my decision. I can make it on my own. So in this area, again, it explains in this level, you are your primary decision maker. At this point, you have the final say that you may have people help you, but you have the authority and the legal right to make all your decisions. And what does that look like? It looks like supported decision-making, a healthcare directive, able account, will, special needs trust. And again, this is saying, I don't need a power of attorney. I'm making my own decisions. I just need to know how to apply this for things in my life. And they can click on any of these little blocks and it will give them, again, information about what it is, where they can learn more. If there's a Tennessee law associated with it, we would have a law listed and that information regarding how to get back to the Tennessee law. So I'm going to do, it works the same for each level. Someone may may need some help with their decision making, and it explains at this level, you do need help, but you still are the one who makes the final decision as far as you have the legal right. Your rights have not been removed. So you may assign someone to be your durable power of attorney, but you are the one who has the right to remove that. You are the one who makes that decision to do that. Therefore, you must have capacity. And when you look at the adult sections, it literally talks about what supported decision-making is. It explains capacity as it relates to Tennessee statute and the fact that if you're not sure if you have capacity, understand in the state of Tennessee, you're considered legally to have capacity until those rights are officially removed through a court order. So again, so people are learning what is capacity and how it relates to our website. And you can see here all of these decision-making supports. Some are the same, some are different, because a parent can get an ABLE account for their child, or someone who has their own decision-making authority can open their own account, or a conservator can open an ABLE account. So some things will overlap. And then going to the last category, in this last category, this is where we're talking the person's rights have been removed and they don't have the right to make decisions. So that would be a conservatorship, like a rep payee can be assigned by a conservator, or can be assigned through a court order or through the court. It could be assigned through Social Security, where the individual doesn't have a decision-making capacity. A healthcare cert can be assigned by a doctor because the person doesn't have capacity. So that's why they're there. But another key thing to see is we also have supported decision-making here. And again, this is where we had a lot of heated discussions on how does that work. And in our case, we explained up here that in some areas you may have decision-making capacity and some you don't. In the areas you don't have decision-making capacity, we recommend you practice supported decision-making to the maximum extent possible, because it's helping you to have a voice in your life. And that's why we listed it here. The supported decision-making on this level explains all of that as well. It talks about capacity and not having capacity. It also says that you have a right to have a voice. And even when we talk about conservatorship in this level, we talk about what it is, full or limited, person or property. This fact that Tennessee looks at the least restrictive conservatorship possible. We list what Tennessee law says. We have what their rights are under our law. We also have what National Guardianship Association says, and explain that they're not the law, but they provide best practice suggestions for across the country, so that people know their rights, but they also know it's best practice. And again, the reason we want to do this is because we've got to stay within a language that makes us correct legally, but at the same time still supports as much autonomy and decision-making for the individual as we can provide for them, and have a message that we can get all of our stakeholders to agree to. So then, oops, sorry, that's the wrong page. I want to go to the stories page real quickly, and I'm done with the website. So again, on the stories page, it's just stories of Tennesseans and what decision-making looks like for them. And we have elderly people, we have like a young man who's trying to get who's going to get his conservatorship reversed. He wants to. We have a teenager. We have a parent who's starting young with their child at decision making. We have another teenager whose parents haven't figured it out yet, but they've got like another year and they're practicing supported decision making. And as we have additional people with unique situations that want to be on our website, we'll be adding more stories as well. And then, of course, the Get Help page, in all honesty, really doesn't have a lot of benefit other than the fact it can take you to the resource directory, which just lists different organizations that help with decision-making and supports for people with disabilities, as well as you can get to it through our dropdown. And then the Contact Us page, which is just a regular Contact Us page. We are going to be adding, like I said, videos. We're talking about trainings. We're talking about video trainings. There's a lot of other things that we're going to be, we're looking at adding to the website and to the center. It's just that it took us so long to get here that that this is where we are now. And now we're looking forward to what we're going to be doing for this next year. So with that, again, in the chat box for our conversation time, we have a question. And the question is, have you used any of these tools? And do you have other SDM tools or other tools for decision making that you all recommend that you think is helpful in what you guys do every day? Again, because we're always looking for better resources, more resources, things that we can do to share with families and individuals. So with that, I think we could probably very quickly whip through just how we educate the public, and then do a Q&A time. So first thing we want to let them know is decision making is a human need. And then I'm going to show you a quick video, and then I'm going to let Cam go through these real quick, and then we'll have Q&A. So this is a brand new video that the council just did for us. They actually did two. The other one, I don't have a release to share yet, but I'm really excited about it because this video provides a parent's perspective on decision making. And then the other one provides the individual's perspective on decision making. And this young man in particular is actually currently under conservatorship. His parents have been working with him for years on developing his decision making skills, and their goal is to get him to the point where he no longer needs a conservator. So with that, I'm going to make sure that I am sharing in sound so you guys can hear this.
We help Terrell making decisions by giving him his options, whatever that may be. And if we need to show him any kind of pictures to help make that decision, we do that.
It's part of his growth, it's part of his development to become more independent as an adult instead of always relying on us. I think he's gained more confidence, especially since he started working at Advanced. Like this weekend, he stayed 3 days at his house. This past week, he stayed 3 days at his house by himself. He got up on his own, he got his food ready, got his clothes together, got dressed, and got prepared to go to work all by himself. He was actually up and ready ahead of time, which was quite surprising. I mean, he was sitting there waiting for the ride to get there.
We're proud of him. We're less stressed. It's good to just see him go on with his life, and then we go on with our life, and you know he's okay.
Just like any other person, they have strengths and weaknesses too. And we found out in a special needs person that their strengths are sometimes amplified more and their weaknesses are amplified more. So you have to find that balance where we can step in and help him in those weak moments, and when he has to make those tough decisions where he doesn't understand, then we have to come in and say, hey, we can help you here. And putting the right people around them is essential.
As they get older, they want to listen to other people, but I think we've made it a point through the years to surround ourselves with people that are there for his good.
You're gonna have some failures, you know, you're gonna have some successes, but you have to go through that. That experience helps both you and them. It's very important that you walk this journey together so you're both growing.
Always include them in whatever decision it is. Present it to them in a way that they will understand. They understand a lot more than we realize.
Okay, with that, actually, I had said we were going to go ahead and go to the next section, but I think just to make sure we have plenty of time for questions, Angela, if you don't mind, we'll go ahead and we'll open it up for questions, because the other part is just like extra information if we have time to get to it. And I do want to make sure that if anyone has questions, we have time to address that.
I think that's great, Penny. Thanks so much. And we definitely have until 3:30. And then we do take a break until 4. So just a quick reminder to everyone, please be sure to sign back on at 4 for NACDD's last session for today. So as Penny said, they're happy to take questions. You can go into the chat box, or if you want to use the raise your hand feature or unmute to ask your question, if that's more accessible for you, that is fine as well. And just so I know my features are working, Penny, did you see the message I sent to you directly?
I don't know. I'm looking.
Okay.
Let me see, because I
saw
have a
the one
hard
that
time.
you sent me.
Okay, great, Cam. Thank you so much. Sorry, guys, I've been having trouble with the Zoom today, so just needed to know. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so there's some stuff in the chat. If you can see it, Penny, that would be great. If you can't, I can read it to you. Just let me know.
What I see is, and I guess this is what I was wondering, whether your experiences included any work with apps or tools to help make developing STM accessible and tech savvy. Personally, no, I am not the tech person, so I'll let Cam answer that.
As of right now, no. That is definitely an evolution thing. We were lucky enough to get a 2-year grant. So we are really just now coming up on the first year of this grant, but that is definitely something that will end up coming out in our reports of other resources. But as right now, we don't have any technology yet. And to be honest with you, just off of my own experience and education on it, I'm pretty sure something like that would probably also be made from scratch. Because I don't know if anything like I read the question, I heard the app, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. That would make really good sense. But it would probably end up having to be made by somebody in this group or something first. So not yet, but definitely, hopefully down the line, we can use technology.
Okay, next question is, you mentioned a toolkit that was developed when you kicked off the website. Is that toolkit available to be shared? I'd like to get some ideas for use in Kansas. I will check with the council and Disability Rights Tennessee, because they're the ones who came up with it. If they're okay with me sharing it, I will be glad to share it with you all, because I was just so impressed. In fact, I had several organizations email me back and say, this is amazing. Who came up with this great toolkit? And I was like, that was our comms people. I'm so proud of them. So, I'll be glad to share that with you guys if they give me the approval for that. Any other questions?
Or any unique experiences that you guys have had that would be great for us to know and keep in mind. Any unique experiences and dealing with people and or the legislature. Oh, well, would any of you all mind also putting in the chat if your state has any SDM laws? That would also be very helpful to Penny and I. And also a big aloha to the gentleman from Hawaii. It's like my second home, so. But yes, do feel free to share your experiences. Penny, do you see the question?
I do. Do you have any tips for successful outreach and education efforts to share about SDM practice? Do you want to take that, or you want me to take it? I'm okay either way.
Yeah, go ahead and take that. I'm going to shoot an email really quick to somebody in the chat that will answer.
Okay, so honestly, in the state of Tennessee, the ARC Tennessee has got what's called a family engagement team. And this is a part of a grant between the ARC and the Department of Education. Currently, we have 8, I think, people across the state who actually have already been working in the community with the schools. They're kind of like an in-between between the advocates and also the schools to help when families have a problem to get those problems resolved. One, they're our team that they're going to be helping pass this, spreading the word, doing presentations across the state with us or for us once things, when they're actually doing live events and things. In addition to that, we actually happened to have a meeting, and this was truly, we did not expect this. It was an amazing situation that we just went to share the website, what we were doing, our heart behind it with the assistant commissioner for the state of Tennessee Department of Education and special education. They were so excited about it that as we were doing it, they were taking notes, say, okay, we want you to do this. We want you to do that. Start working on that so that when this next school year comes up, you can do that. Part of that is like the trainings that we were talking about is for us to provide like videos, like short videos that would be accessible, that we could do live trainings or virtual trainings, but also that we could like give them a link to our website and let them know if you need to know more, you can go watch this one on conservatorship. You can watch this one on power of attorney. So that's actually what we're developing right now for this next year, is some kind of easy, accessible information that they can go to. At the same time, we have offered to provide these trainings virtually or physically across the state. If it's physical, it's going to be the family engagement team providing it. If it's just because they're already there, and Cam and I are located in Central and Middle Tennessee, if not, then we can do virtual.
There's a really cool question that was asked. How have you worked with nursing home industry? The industry is powerful in our state. They have been uncomfortable with SDM, which has made legislation difficult. I thought that question stuck out to me because we haven't worked with nursing homes directly, mainly because of COVID. That definitely will be something that we come into, but I do recognize the pushback, and we've seen the pushback in other forms, if not directly there, just in skepticism and or outright support for the just conservatorship Association of Tennessee strictly, and just leaving it at that. Which we tell people all the time, just because you're pro-conservatorship does not mean that you're anti-SDM at all. They work hand in hand together, able-bodied or disabled, it does not matter. But for that question, I would say I haven't, but the struggle that we all face here is SDM's a lot of work, right? As a former special education teacher, I often tell the story of having to teach kids who are severe autistic, and then you throw in dealing with kids who are severe autistic and don't speak the same at home, they don't speak the same language, they don't hear the same language that you're trying to communicate with them in. Now, as a teacher, was I just to give up? And I mean, if we're being honest, the bureaucracy of it all says just make sure nobody dies and get them through and nobody will bat an eye. But that wasn't my mission. And I've worked with severe autism kids who their first language is, let's say, Micronesian, for an example, in my early years of teaching. And I had to find a way to communicate with this kid. Later on, when I came to Nashville, I was teaching a young man who, again, severe autism. His primary language, though, was Spanish. I still had to find a way to communicate with both of these individuals. Now, in finding that way, does it take a lot out of me? Absolutely, it does. And that's where we're running into the problem with a lot of times at nursing home facilities, some of the aides and attendants and assistants are underpaid, and they're not staffed very well. So doing the person-centered, person-first techniques that it would take, they're not really apt to do. And I think that's where management comes in, as far as like when we were talking earlier in the presentation about conservatorship management, because if you don't want to go above and beyond for a person who literally cannot, then that says something about yourself. However, legally, you cannot slack off. And if you are slacking off, we need to be able to follow up some way. So I find that when I'm hypothesizing here, that I find that when we can manage conservatorships directly, we should be able to also change hearts and minds of doing things that may be more above and beyond.
Vanessa, are you still there? Because I know you had your hand up.
I am still here. Thank you.
Okay, sorry for that.
That's
Go
okay.
ahead.
No, this is Vanessa. I am the project manager for the New Hampshire Council. And first I want to say thank you to Penny and Cam for this really valuable information. I'm really excited and I can't wait to share it with everyone in our network. So as Cam mentioned, the New Hampshire legislature has finally passed a bill determining supported decision-making as an alternative to guardianship. And this is really exciting for us because it's one of the very few bipartisan pieces of legislation that was passed in our state this past session. So it was kind of a surprising positive outcome. And I just wanted to mention really quick to Jeff in Kansas. He had mentioned in the chat box something about how supported decision-making is not spoken about in school systems. And I wanted to let him know that my favorite part of the bill determines that it is required during IEP meetings now for the schools to not only discuss supported decision-making alternatives, but to provide resources to the families. And those resources are required to be provided in the family's principal language. So that's if anyone is working on legislation or talking to legislators, that's one of the elements that I think as a former educator is very, very foundational to moving the public into understanding the value of supported decision-making. Because when parents are introduced to these new ideas, that's really where things blossom from, and that's how things move forward. So I just wanted to share that, and again, to thank you very much for your information.
Oh, thank you. In fact, honestly, if you wouldn't mind sharing your email, Cam and I would love to maybe have a conversation with you about your legislation, and anyone else who has legislation, if you're willing to share where we can access it. That's really something that down the road we want to reapproach again. But just seeing how other states did it is helpful to us to maybe know how we can reframe it would be awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the policy. I mean, I'm not the policy person. So what I would do is I would direct you to our policy director, who would be very happy to share more in-depth information about the legislation.
That would be awesome. Great.
So I can connect you if you email me.
Great. I just grabbed your email. Thanks so much.
You're welcome.
Margaret, I believe you were next.
Hi, I just wanted to thank you for this good presentation. There's a lot of valuable information here, and those tools are very exciting. Like give us a lot of ideas. I am the Director of Public Policy, and this past legislative session, the council had as one of our premier legislative priorities a supported decision-making as an alternative to guardianship bill. And we were working with Disability Rights Florida, who has a Florida Bar Fellow, Viviana Bonilla Lopez, leading probably a 50-member group trying to work on this. And we introduced it. We had sponsors in the legislature this past session, but it didn't get heard. We had very fierce opposition, even more than we had anticipated, from the reptile section of the Florida Bar. So we've been working with them over the summer and with the bill sponsors to come up with language we've agreed upon. And so far we're taking the alternative to guardianship concept and putting it in the section of statute where power of attorney and other medical proxies and those kind of options are. So it's a different statute than the actual guardian statute. But a judge would have to ask, have any of these options been considered before the judge would render a decision on guardianship? And then in addition, we do have an educational proxy section as well, because after talking with each other, we realized that a lot of the time with pressure from school systems is as soon as you're a person with a disability turns 18, they become an adult, and guardianship decisions, people are pressured to make them quickly. So we're trying to put some guidance language and educational proxy language in the bill as well. And we have a SDM for Florida website that we've got with lots of information. But I really like the tools that you all have, because I think that even people in a guardianship can benefit from using these tools, and their guardians can benefit from using these tools. So I really like the way that's laid out. So thank you all.
Oh, thank you. That's interesting that you're telling me that. I thought Florida did have STM law, because I've actually been on your website, and I love like the resources you guys have on there. In fact, I've been through a lot of that, and I think like there's a training and a workbook thing that you guys have on there.
Right, the lighting the way to guardianship.
Love that. Love that.
It's very excellent. And I worked at the public guardian's office before I came to the council, and the council's done a lot of work over the years on that. So we've always identified it as a least restrictive option, but we've never tried to put it in statute until last year.
Wow, that's amazing. Like I said, I love that tool. In fact, I've gone through some of it, but I just haven't had a chance to go through the whole thing because it's really comprehensive.
Hmm.
Thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate that.
Sure.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions? I'm trying to copy and paste our contact information, but it's not working so good. So what I can do real quick, I'm just gonna, y'all can still ask questions, just you'll have to put it in the chat or raise your hand. I'm just gonna share our contact information. So that way you all have it. And then also if y'all would, I'd appreciate it if you guys could complete the survey, because this is how obviously we learn, you know, what works, what doesn't work, what other information you guys could use that would be helpful, that you think that you would recommend, so that that way as we go forward, we can, you know, improve the presentation and improve the information. So this is my contact information. Again, I work with the ARC Tennessee and I'm the program coordinator, and I'll give you guys a minute to look that over, and then I'll switch to Cam's.
And also, Penny, this is Angela. We should have the your presentation. Does Robin Troutman have your presentation? Usually we post
Yes.
them.
Yeah,
Okay,
she does.
great. Great.
So, and then,
this,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So this is if you came in late, this presentation is being recorded as well. So you will have access to the materials and the recording.
And then this is disability rights information. And then, oops, let me go back. I'll do that for a second. And then also I'll show you the survey. What I can do, Angela, I don't know if you guys do that or not, but I can like send links to some of those tools, if that would help for anyone who's interested in the tools, and for the Life Course website that has a lot of other tools as well. Because I know, like I said, I love them. I think they're very helpful.
Yeah, everything was helpful. Anything that you want to put in the chat, we can capture as well.
Okay.
So that's fine too, if you want to copy and paste the information into the chat, because this Zoom will save that for us.
Okay. Well, hang on. I'm gonna stop sharing now.
And absolutely, please, you guys, if you can, please, humbly, please fill out that survey. That helps us out so much with our grants. And it is uniquely weird for me to be that annoying guy, ask you to take a survey at the end of this, because I'm always like, no, I don't want to, but please, it does mean a lot.
And Kim, this is Angela again too, because I took this on at the last minute. I don't see a poll. When you say survey, do you have a link to it?
Yes, I'm gonna put it in right now.
Okay, great.
I had to get out of the actual presentation mode.
No, that's perfectly fine. I felt bad because I didn't have one, and so that's great if you have it.
Okay, so here's contact information. And then I will put the survey right here once I get it. Here we go.
Yeah, it's so important to get that kind of feedback. So thank you everyone for taking the time to copy at that link and work on that. Or you can even do it right after this session, because we have a break until 4. So if that works for you, that would be great. Okay, any other final questions for Penny or Cam?
This is Jeff. I don't see the link to the survey.
She just put it in. It says red cap.
Did she accidentally send it in a direct message?
Yeah, I don't see it either.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
maybe
might
in a
have. Sorry, guys, I sent it to Angela. Sorry.
Good.
Oh, no
I
problem.
do it all the time on Zoom calls.
All right.
And I was so proud of myself that I actually got to copy and paste it in there. Sorry.
Well,
I'll do it
while I
now.
have my microphone on, I really want to thank you both. This is great information, and I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for attending.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you guys
great.
for being here and giving us this opportunity.
Yeah, I agree. This was amazing. Okay, so it looks like
Is it coming through now?
It is coming through now. We've got the 2 contacts, just need the survey link.
Yep.
Got it. It's coming. There we go. Sorry, guys.
okay, great. Thanks so much, Penny. So again, there's your survey link. If you need help with anything, please let us know. A huge thank you to Penny and Kim and everyone in this meeting. I know that this work is being addressed all around the country and the territories, and we appreciate all of your hard work. Please be sure to sign back on at 4 for our last session, and we will make sure that this information gets out to you after the conference. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thank you all. Thanks for letting us come talk with you.
Of course.